Remember, you can't always be the smartest person in the room. It's just not possible. There's a lot of smart people around you.
If you want to make something of yourself, solve other people's problem.
You cannot say, I am the founder, and therefore I demand respect and that you have to listen to me no matter what because I know better than you. That doesn't work in leadership.
3 core beliefs that you have shaped your mindset for growth and success.
Every country comes with different challenges, not only business-wise, but culturally.
You have been into the entrepreneurial space since so many years now, decades. What is your consistent factor that keeps you going?
Questions are important so that everyone can understand them. I think with this podcast, it's very clear, it's like enlightening to people, especially young entrepreneurs.
Hi everyone, I'm Mohsina. In this episode of Self-Discovery Podcast, we are joined by an extraordinary visionary, Bassim Haidar, a Nigerian-born Lebanese entrepreneur and global business leader whose journey is a masterclass in resilience, innovation, and purpose-driven leadership. Bassim is the founder and group CEO of Channel IT, a pioneering force in Africa's telecom infrastructure, and the founder of Optasia, a leading fintech platform serving over 60 million customers across more than 30 countries. His ventures span multiple industries from telecommunication, logistics, finance, to medicinal, cannabis and venture capital through companies like Capital and SafriCanna. What makes Bassim's story truly inspiring is how he transformed personal adversity into a relentless drive for growth. Starting his first business at the age of 20, losing his family's fortune, he built an empire that today generates revenues exceeding $1.6 billion with operations in 19 countries. As the honorary consul of South Africa to the UK, Bassim continues to champion cross-border trade and innovation. His journey is not just about building businesses, it's about redefining what's possible through self-belief, courage, and the power of reinvention. Hi Bassim, welcome to my show, Self-Discovery Podcast. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much. Good to see you and look forward to the discussion.
Bassim, your journey began with some major challenges early on. Can you share one story from your early days? How you approached your business and it really shaped you into who you are today.
Basically, one of the biggest drivers I've had, perhaps maybe even from childhood, was always the fear of failure and being extremely competitive. And what has happened with, my family losing everything they had when I was the age of 12 left a bad impact on me and made me even more vigorous in terms of trying to achieve something when I grow up. So when I first started my first business back in Nigeria with little money I made, dealing with cars while I was in Lebanon and in university, try to find solutions for problems. This was my start in life, is always what is it that you can do to solve problems and people will come to you. And the first thing obviously was communication I came across because that was critical at the time. It was in the early stages in Africa. What I realized is there was a problem whereby people in the city could not connect to people outside the city where most factories were. So effectively, I found a solution that worked. And I used all the money I had to buy the first equipment to try and test it. And I sold that very successfully. I got many orders after that. And that's how I kind of started that path, knowing that every single business I start isn't going to be about passion, but it's going to be about solving problems, day-to-day problems and business problems.
Absolutely. Like if you want to make something of yourself, solve other people's problem. It's truly apt in your case. Bassim, please tell me, you have built companies impacting millions across countries. What has kept you motivated when things really got tough? Like leadership is not a journey, or business for that matter, entrepreneurship. It's not a straight line. It's always ups and downs that we see. So what are the beliefs that keeps you going at times when things are not working out?
To be honest, the tougher business is, the tougher the approach, the more I like it. And it's a very simple reason for that. You have to imagine yourself running a triathlon. If everyone was fit the same way, everyone would finish the triathlon and everyone would win. And business is not like that. Business is a triathlon where you have to be far fitter, far faster, have that clear objective ahead of you. And there will be tough times. You're going to feel a lot of pain along the way. It all comes down to how much pain are you willing to bear? Are you willing to bear more pain than the next person? And yes, especially the regions where I started my businesses in emerging markets and in Africa, it's not always easy. There's a lot of challenges beside the normal challenges around making a business successful. You have things around, currency devaluations, environments that don't have clear regulatory frameworks and all of that. But you know what? That creates the opportunity. And that's what even drove me more. The more I saw these problems, the more I realized there were more opportunities. And that just kept me going. Obviously, Nigeria, when I started, had its own challenges. But then I thought maybe I'll try other countries and see what other challenges we face there. And every country comes with different challenges, not only business-wise, but culturally. Every country was different. So we had to adapt to those cultures.
So, what are three traits or beliefs that you look in a leader? From your side, I can understand that, I have, say, identified two of the traits. You like solving problems and you really observe, I'm sure, the community or the country, and you understand where the lack is. And that is where you form the solutions. The second thing is that you love tough situations and challenges. So, what would you describe leadership in terms of beliefs of a person?
Leadership is about really leading from the front, but accepting to be challenged. Remember, you can't always be the smartest person in the room. It's just not possible. There's a lot of smart people around you, but every person has his own sets of skills. And if you don't allow those people to challenge you, and if you don't allow yourself to challenge them, I don't think you can be a superior leader. This is one of the things I always found. Two, I think it's critical that you absorb information that is being given to you by the people around you that know a lot about maybe certain things that you don't know about as a leader. I think the most important thing is to absorb and not shut them out because they're trying to, voice their opinions and so. And this is something that I've done, with all my teams globally in the different businesses that I've started. Three, give credit where credit is due. People like to feel good that when they do something and they deliver results, that they're given the credit for it. It's not always about financial reward, but it's just about, showing that appreciation to them and, thanking them for what they've contributed and so on, motivating them. People like to climb ladders, so you need to help them climb that ladders. People always give credit to the founder. They say, oh, you founded this business, but the reality, yes, I founded the business, but my role as a founder is to empower those people that are going to run the day to day. And you must separate, in my opinion, very clearly a founder's role from the leadership roles within the organization. What do I mean by that? The founder's role is really to see the big picture and drive the big picture, whereby the leadership roles within the organization must go into the detail and the execution. In every single business that I've seen, it's never the leader at the front going into the nitty-gritty details because then you're micromanaging. And I don't think that works.
That's absolutely rightly put. So, Channel IT and Optasia have disrupted key industries in many countries. So, how do you stay connected to the everyday, your businesses serve?
Look, I'd like to think ourselves less of a disruptor and more of a bridge and a solution provider. And this is because, the disruptor will always get disrupted, in my opinion. But if you build bridges and you build solutions, it's very difficult to disrupt you. So this has been my philosophy from day one. Don't focus on the disruption, focus on the weaknesses in the system and try to build bridges. Why? Because you want the ecosystem around you that is weak to actually work with you and empower you rather than them trying to disrupt you back. So, for example, when I started Optasia, and I was providing, the airtime credit and small cash loans. The ecosystem was around having, mobile operators through the mobile money and the banks through providing the loans and so on. I didn't want to go and disrupt them. I wanted to actually work with them because just as much as I needed them, they also needed me. So it was a win-win situation for everybody. And then we build bridges. The end result is that right now we have 121 million active users monthly on our platform, borrowing, changing lives, impacting lives. We're on a mission of financial inclusion at a scale that has never been seen before in emerging markets. This is basically finding solutions for problems, but then getting regulators, banks, distribution partners to work with you and create that ecosystem.
Great. So you have spoken about building bridges. You have spoken about thought process in terms of empowerment, differentiating two things. One is the leadership and one is the founders. How is it that you empower your presence or your thought process? How does it empower the leaders? Three aspects, if you can speak about.
I mean, look, leaders need to be respected. You cannot say, I am the founder, therefore I demand respect and that you have to listen to me no matter what because I know better than you. That doesn't work in leadership. Absolutely not. And that's why empowerment is actually a very powerful thing in itself, because when you try and understand what the word actually empowerment, it goes beyond just these are your tasks. I expect you to do those and hopefully you execute. No, empowerment is team play, and the power stays within that team. You're only powerful as a team. It's not about me assigning you certain tasks as head of this and head of that, etc. If you look at most of the meetings that we have, the CFO will be contributing commercially. The head of commercial will be contributing to technology. The technology guys will be contributing to product. And that's empowerment because everybody is working together as a team. Two, empowerment comes by continuously innovating. Remember, most businesses get interrupted 5 to 7 years into a cycle always. If they don't continue innovating, they will be innovated out by another hungry party that is actually coming in. So you always absolutely have to stay ahead of the curve, always think, what is the next step? Thirdly, I would say you must never relax and just chill in terms of, I'm doing well now, no one's going to be able to catch me. Remember, the next person running that triathlon is just behind you and waiting for you to get tired before they overtake you. So you must always stay on your feet, almost stay alert, keep yourself aware of what are the next needs, how you can, expand your business not only in one product or two products that you do, but how can I have, multi-product? How can I continuously have innovation that transforms people's lives so that you move from pushing your product to people pulling your product? And this is something very important.
Absolutely. So you have ventured from telecommunication, IT, as well as, fintech, now into medicinal cannabis. Okay, so what's one unexpected lesson that you have learned from venturing into one new space after the other?
It's an interesting question because, to be honest, 6 years ago, I knew nothing about agri-tech or medical cannabis, but I always do things before a trend. Once a trend is there, I'm out. I never actually will invest or go because the trend will surpass any innovation. And therefore, what I try to do is, I knew that medical cannabis is an alternative way for treatment. But the honest truth is, I knew nothing about it. So I started to talk to a few people and so on. And as it happens, one of the people that works for me in one of my organizations, I was just chatting to him and he said, well, this is something I've been looking into for a long time, but I would love to lead this business. And I said, what do you know about it? He says, I've done a lot of research and so on. And I said, okay, so how can I know about this? Because I know there's something there, but I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. And he says, okay, let me get some scientists that know about this that I know of. We'll sit down in a room and we can have that discussion. I said, okay, you've got a week. Come back to me in a week. And he did come back to me. He brought in some amazing, talented guys. They came to see me. We sat down in a room for 2 days. I was blown away. When I saw what they were talking about, I knew there was an opportunity. I said, okay, draw me a budget. Let me see what it will cost to build a factory, facility, and a farm. So we want to be top, 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 and we need to have the highest grade medical cannabis. Of course, we started just before COVID construction. We learned a lot through the construction, what we needed to do, because obviously creating a medical facility is very different than creating just a farm. That's how we started that journey. But along the line, there's certain things that we did not see. So, for example, a simple one was most of the cannabis seeds for medical treatment were designed to grow in the northern hemisphere. When we brought them to South Africa, where we built a facility, those strains did not want to give us the yield that we wanted because they were not used to the climate there. So we had to create an R&D division, we had to crossbreed, we had to go through all those learning cycles, but we never gave up because we knew if something grows in the northern hemisphere, then it must grow in the southern hemisphere. We just have to find the right formula. So obviously, with a lot of trial and error, scientists working with us and so on, we eventually cracked all of this. And right now, we sell everything we don't even have capacity to even produce 1 gram. And we've now at the third stage of expansion. So it was a learning and humbling process that we went through, and the results have actually yielded amazing revenues for us and so on. And same thing, through my experiences, like one of my recent ventures, which you probably wouldn't know about, is a company called Finergy. And what we decided to do is, as our micro lending business grew significantly, we decided, most people in Africa, Middle East, and mostly Asia have prepaid meters for electricity, but most of the time they run out of electricity because they either didn't have the money to do it or they didn't plan for it, etc. We developed a platform that allows us to read those meters, alert the customer, and provide them a loan for electricity, basically. And then we take a fee on the next recharge. So I launched this business a year ago. We launched our first country on Saturday, and we have 7 other countries in the pipe. So this is, again, providing a solution to a problem that people suffer from day in, day out.
You have spoken about medical cannabis. I want to ask you one thing here, that did you face resistance while, when you were trading it? And which are the countries which are accepting it? Because the benefits are there, but many countries are still reluctant using it as an alternative medicine. So which are the countries which has accepted, and, you have seen that, it has worked tremendously?
Actually, in countries like Canada, Germany, Italy, Poland, Malta, South Africa, the UK, all these countries are accepting the product. Remember that to be able to ship product to these countries, you must pass a very, very stringent security and quality control called EU GMP1, which is the highest standard of manufacturing to ensure there's no bacteria, that is safe to consume, and all of that. And we are the only company actually in Africa that has the EU GMP1, simply because of the way we built our facility and our process. That was a challenge because that took 2 years to get, with a lot of audits and so on, to get that. But for us, the mission continued, is that we knew we would get it. We also wanted to ensure that we could treat illnesses, not just to supply for recreational use. We needed to treat illnesses. So one of the big things that we treat is insomnia, cancer pain. So a lot of children that have cancer or adults that have cancer can't eat. Basically, we've got the strains that we provide that allows these patients to actually use our products, and then all of a sudden you see them start having the appetite to actually eat, which is very important when people are on chemotherapy. You have arthritis pain, you have epilepsy. So we have about 9 different strains where we're treating, and that's kind of the mission really we're on. It's one thing, of course, to have a successful business and so on, but it's the most amazing thing people will feel, and mark my words for it, is in the beginning, your objective is to have something successful and make money. But that's no longer the objective down the road. The objective down the road is to impact life positively and see a change in what you do. And this is what I get the joy from now.
Right. So you have been into the entrepreneurial space since so many years now, okay, decades. Tell me this thing, what is your consistent factor that keeps you going and thought process? Like you just told me that, you love helping people out now. That is the joy, okay? So what is that consistency or a ritual that you do every day, which can be boring, but at the same time, it lifts you up?
Well, the thing is, every morning I pinch myself just to remind myself of where I was, where I started, my humble beginnings. And I keep my head down and stay humble, even today, with all the businesses that I've done around the world, with the businesses I've sold, with the businesses that are still existing, and so on. The biggest driver for me, believe it or not, is the fear of failure. I still have that fear of failure embedded in my DNA day in, day out. And it's not about fear of failure regarding money, but fear of failure around my objective. What is it that I want to achieve? And am I going to fail? Am I going to impact people's lives positively? I cannot fail. And therefore, that fear of failure drives me. And again, I mean, my children talk to me and said, "Oh, Dad, how do we fill in such big shoes and so on?" And I'm like, you don't need to fill any big shoes. You carve your own way. You carve your own life. I will be here, obviously, to give you a better start, in life. But the fear of me failing even in front of my children in any way, even though after all of this, is still a big driver, because for me, I need to be a good example for them, and I need to be a good example for everyone around me. And therefore, that continuously drives me.
That's very powerful and motivating at the same time. Bassim, please tell us, what are the three core beliefs that you have shaped your mindset for growth and success? And how have these influenced the way you lead and inspire others?
Well, the first thing is, I would say never follow your passion. Never follow your passion, because passion becomes too emotional and you forget the big picture, which is what I was saying earlier. I think what you need to do is find what works for you. You might not really like fully as an entrepreneur a business, but you know it's going to be successful. If you ask me, did I like every single business I started? No, but I found a solution to a problem. And then with time, I liked the business because it gave me back the reward I wanted. The second thing is, I would say, is don't dream very big from the beginning. When you dream very big, you lose it. You're thinking so big that you forget to take those baby steps, especially if you're a young entrepreneur at the beginning. I would say dream in pieces. Dream of what you can achieve slightly more at the beginning. And once you achieve that, dream of the second step by upping the ante, and then so on. And then your dream will come together. Look at a dream like a Lego that you need to put together. You don't go there and pick up the 1,000 pieces and throw them, and then all of a sudden they're there. You build them in pieces and so on. And I think this is very important, that you actually follow those steps. It's one thing at a time. You can do them fast, but it's one thing at a time. And the third thing I would say is, never start a business and think of an exit right away. This is the biggest mistake I see entrepreneurs doing today. With my venture capital business, I see people coming in with a 1-year-old business and they're already talking about an exit in 5 years. You don't think about an exit. You think about building a business. You think about building something unique, something amazing. The exit will come if you want. It's something you might decide you don't want to exit because you love it so much. So don't think about an exit. Keep your head down, focus on building a business. And then if you decide to exit, do that down the road.
Basim, you have spoken many times in your references, the answers that you have given, and the thoughts that you have shared. You have referred a lot many times on triathlon. How many times have you been on a triathlon, or you have participated on a triathlon?
Many. And
Many.
I'll tell you one thing. I failed in two of them. And I failed because I didn't see one thing or two things that bit me along the way, and that caused failure. But that taught me, how to run triathlons a lot better. Obviously, I am more careful. And instead of running that whole path very, very quickly, I'm constantly looking left, right, behind me, and in front of me to make sure I don't get bitten like I did before. So yes, many trials. I mean, not sure if you know, but I've successfully started 9 different businesses. I've exited 5 of them over my career. 4 I still own, and 2 I failed. So that's a pretty good ratio. And I can tell you one thing for your listeners is that never count yourself as a successful or super successful entrepreneur just by starting one business. You're a really successful entrepreneur if you're successful in 2 or more, because that's when you know you've got the X factor.
Wow, great. Amazing conversation and so much power and insights in this. Thank you so much, Bassim, for joining in.
Thank you. I think it's very enlightening. I mean, I think the questions are clear and the questions are important so that everyone can understand them. The worst thing in a podcast that I see in when things are very complex and then the message doesn't get through, doesn't inspire people. I think with this podcast, it's very clear. It's like, it's very enlightening to people, especially young entrepreneurs. And I think speaking plain language resonates with a lot of people.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.